doing in terms of gun violence, but it's a moment of gratitude to Mitch Morris and to Pastor Ennis Tate, who will be joining us shortly, for their incredible frontline work on gun violence in the city of Cincinnati. In the last 5 years, there have been an average of 350 mass shootings in the United States each of those years. A mass shooting is defined as 4 or more deaths from a single shooter, from a coordinated group of shooters, if you will. 350 mass shootings per year. There have been 74 gun deaths in 2016 in Cincinnati alone. Now those were single incident, gun deaths, which Mitch tracks very closely. And when we've had a gun death in Cincinnati, he immediately reports to the cathedral so that we can be in prayer for those families and for the deceased. But I got to thinking, if we were to compare, if those weren't strung out over the last 11 months, we would consider that the worst mass shooting in the United States to date thus far. Think about that. In other words, if they had all been, the worst mass shooting to date has been the Pulse nightclub shooting. Please come on in, there's lots of room over on this side too. The worst was the Pulse nightclub, which was, 50 plus, I think 52 was the final death toll in the Pulse nightclub shooting. If we took all of the gun deaths in Cincinnati, we would have had the worst single mass shooting in the nation just this year alone. And that doesn't say anything about what's going on in the city of Chicago, which is multiple times that number of deaths. I'm not sure, maybe Mitch knows what the death count is in Chicago now, but I believe it's well over 1,000. So, we have got an epidemic in this country of gun violence, and I felt about a year ago was when I preached my first sermon directing the attention of the cathedral to the issue of gun violence. I'm a big believer in acting locally and thinking globally. So I believe that, for us to think about that issue of gun violence here in the city of Cincinnati, among our own friends and neighbors, is a very important first step. But we also need to be willing to act not just locally, but also globally as well. So we've taken a number of positions on that and encouraging you to take action as well. Our primary activity in the city this year has been prayer. So each week, and there have only been, I think, 3 weeks out of the entire year when we did not have a death due to gun violence in the city of Cincinnati. A name is added to our prayers each Sunday morning, and we specifically call it out as we pray for our Cincinnati neighbors who have died this week as a result of gun violence. Just to remind our own congregation and anyone who's paying attention to our services, which are live streamed every week online, that we lost a neighbor this week. So prayer is certainly very important to us. Additionally, we commissioned that incredible piece of art, actually 2 pieces of art, that hang on the side of our building, the enormous mural that was created by a couple of young brothers who live in Brooklyn, but they're actually Iraqis by birth. And in spite of the fact that they come from a country that has had a lot of warfare at its doorstep, they have never seen the average citizen in Iraq walking around with firearms the way we see it in this country with open carry hands. So they were completely taken aback by the level of gun violence in the United States, and neither one of them had ever been injured until they were sitting in their Brooklyn apartment one day and a stray bullet went through the window. This is a young man who makes his living as an artist, and the bullet went through his hand. And he couldn't work for months on end. It was just so striking to me when they put up this incredible mural, their interpretation of gun violence and its repercussions, that this was his own personal story. Because I asked him, I said, what has it been like for you living in the United States? Many good things, he says. Your people take their freedoms for granted. But he said, one of the greatest tragedies of this country is the sheer number of guns and the amount of gun violence that they see every single day, living in a relatively safe neighborhood of Brooklyn. So I thought it was an incredible outsider's point of view. We're very proud of the installation that they created, the large mural, as well as the banner that shows a young boy facing what appears to be a chalkboard and erasing an automatic weapon. That image became so powerful, and we had so many requests to share it, that we got a local printing company to create kind of a lawn sign version of that, which I think started popping up all over Avondale in particular. I have one on the side of my house. I live in Pendleton. My neighbors started asking for it. Many of the local businesses did. So to some degree, I think the message is getting out there. I'm going to reference you to, well, let me say something else. One of my great concerns right now is the atmosphere that was created out of the recent election, this uptick, according to the Southern Poverty Law Center, of violence, hate crime violence particularly, and the kind of identity politics and scapegoating of certain segments of our society. I think we're at great risk when we have as many guns in our society as we do. I think that's a deadly combination, that's a deadly cocktail, to have a lot of weapons, easy access to them, a heavily armed citizenry, and then this sort of uptick in identity politics and scapegoating of certain groups of people seems to me a particularly dangerous place for this nation to be. So, and there are going to be many ways for us to be active around those issues. But I think one thing that we cannot let go of, because certainly the election has not brought into office people for whom gun control and reducing gun violence is an issue. As a matter of fact, I think quite the contrary. We have now elected a Congress, a Senate, and a president who feel like we need more open gun laws and are in support of the NRA's position on guns. So again, that seems like a particularly dangerous and critical moment for this nation. Most people want to ask me how to get involved. I recommend these two websites to you, Americans for Responsible Solutions and the Law Center to Prevent Gun Violence. And then our own website, we have a link right on the homepage called We Remember. And if you